Hello everyone, this is Dr. Rose. So in our last video, we talked about all these parts and components. Essentially, we talked about power supplies of different sorts, batteries, electronic power supplies. We talked about controls, switches of different kinds, and we talked about loads. We talked about lights, motors, resistors of different types. And so on this video, what I'd like to talk about is another set of important instruments when we're doing electronics, and that's true for the virtual design world as well as for the actual building. That is what I call measurement instruments. So I'm going to make some space here by deleting. I just click on the element and delete it. I'm going to remove some of these elements to make myself a little space. All right, you already know those parts. I'm going just to leave a few parts in here. Okay. All right, so that we can make that point. And I'm going to do a search here on, you can look for DMM, or you can look for, so there's actually 4 different kinds of instruments, actually 5. But I'm going to make it simple for you here. And we're going to look for voltmeter. All right, maybe DMM is what I want. There you go. Instrument does it. So here is a multimeter. Right, that's one type. Some people will consider the power supply an instrument. However, you want to consider that could be a part of the group of instruments. But the idea is you need the instrument to be able to analyze the behavior of your circuit. So this particular instrument is a DMM or digital multimeter, and here you can change it to either do the function of a voltmeter, a ohm meter, or an ammeter. So 3 functions on that device. The other actually instrument that we have here is the oscilloscope. This is actually particularly used when you analyze sinusoidal waves. All right, so not in introductory classes, but in more advanced electrical electronic classes, you will use an instrument like that, which is an oscilloscope. But the ammeter, voltmeter, resistometer, if you will, ohm meter, is very common on basic circuits. And then you have, of course, what's called a function generator. So a function generator is the type of instrument or even a power supply that generates multiple types of sine waves. So within this group, we have 4 basic instruments. There's more instruments that are used in electronics. For instance, I don't know if we can find a logic probe, which is for digital logic electronics. No, there's no logic probe on this. But you'll learn about this probe as you go forward. It's not available in here. But again, the most common one is the ammeter, voltmeter, resistor measurement device. And then you have after that the oscilloscope and the function generator. I'm going to get rid of the function generator here and the oscilloscope. I'm going to just leave this guy. You actually can replicate components by simply doing Control C and then Control B. I just did that. And you can create multiple Control B, Control C instruments as well as parts. Control B again, Control C, right? And I can create multiple parts without having to pull them from the library. But however you want to do it, again, you can duplicate by copy and pasting these elements, right? You can also label them, which is a necessary thing when you have multiple components in a circuit and you want to properly identify them. Like this resistor, I could name that resistor R1. Okay, and I can also determine the value of that. That's 1K. I can click on the next one and I can call that R2, and I can make that a 2K resistor, right? And so on and so forth. I can do the same with all other components. This device, the DMM, can be changed to perform a different function based on how it is connected on the circuit. And we'll talk some more about that, but essentially on this video, I just wanted to introduce various electronic instruments, and particularly talked about the ammeter, voltmeter, resistance reading meter, or ohm meter as it's called, so that you have an idea what they are, okay? So we'll do another video to talk about more details about these devices. Thank you. Okay, so on our previous video, we talked about electronic instruments. These are, excuse me, devices that are used to understand and analyze the behavior of electronic circuits. And we talked about the voltmeter, ammeter, ohm meter, and here they are. We're not going to use them, but I'm going to just delete them, click on them, delete, click on them, delete. I like to be able to build a very basic circuit using the breadboard in this situation here. And so I'm going to remove all components from my breadboard, and then I'm going to call them out again so we can build the circuit, okay? So there's the breadboard, and a basic circuit requires essentially three things, four if you will, but let's just do a basic circuit and let's wire that circuit. I am going to use a power supply, so I'm going to bring this battery here as the power supply. I am going to do a power supply with two batteries. And what I'm getting out of this is the sum of these two voltages, which is going to be 3 volts, okay? So that's going to be my power supply. All right. The next thing I want to use is a form of a load. So there's no menu for load, but I'm going to call here a light. Okay, and with that, there should be multiple types of lights in here. Okay, one of those is the LED light. So I'm going to bring this LED down here. And now with this particular LED, I need a resistor that, because the LED has polarity, and also it's a low voltage element. So I am going to need a resistor. So okay, where are the resistors? Right here. All right. And what I like to do at this moment is also be able to control this with a switch. We haven't connected this yet, and we haven't specified the details. So I'm going to need a switch like you normally would on a real circuit. So I'm going to call a simple switch here. And you can use the push button switch, or you can use the slide switch. I'm gonna bring this light switch here. Okay. All right. So on the first video, we talked about breadboarding. If you haven't reviewed that video on breadboarding, you may want to go back and review that, because we're not going to explain that anymore here. What I pretend to do is to build a circuit and wire it so we can test it. All right. And to do that, everything has to be connected right. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to power up the whole board. And to be able to do that, I have various options. So we need wires. And so I'm going to bring a positive wire. And I'm going to change the color of the wire to be red. That's usually positive. From this positive point, I'm going to bring it to this point, which means I'm putting power into the whole rail across the board, right? All right, so I'm going to change the color here to black, and I'm going to bring a wire to the upper part. So what I have done so far is I have brought power from the power supply onto the board. So the board is powered up. If I measure voltage between this point and this point, there should be 3 volts in there, right? And I can demonstrate that to you by bringing a DMM, if you will, or multimeter. Okay, so there's the multimeter. I'm going to bring that multimeter here, and I'm going to zoom here. Okay, so I'm going to measure positive, right, and negative. And if I, that's a voltmeter, right? If I run this without having anything connected, start simulation, I have 3 volts, right? Because I have power on the rail. So power is on the rail. I'm going to stop the simulation. Next, I'm going to build the circuit so that we can power up this LED. I'm going to actually remove the switch for now, just to make things simple. Resistors have no polarity, right? But LEDs have polarity. So I'm gonna turn this around. You see that? Because I want to have the ability to connect this light, which is an LED. This is the positive side. This is the negative side. Okay, I'm gonna turn this resistor around too, and I'm gonna move it over here. Okay, to make the connection. And so what I'm going to do now is wire this circuit. Okay, and by that I need to bring power, red, from the power rail to the column with the resistors connected, right? So this is all connected internally. Therefore, by bringing power to this point, I bring power to this side of the resistor. Now I want to go from the resistor column to the anode or the positive of that LED, right? The circuit's not complete. I need to end the circuit with the ground, which is bringing the ground connection from the ground terminal down to this side here, right? Therefore, we have completed the cycle and we have a full circuit. I'm going to change the resistor to make it 250 ohms, because I know that's what I need. And now I'm ready to test the circuit. Circuit is ready to be tested out. So here we go. And circuit is illuminated, right? Because everything is perfect. So you saw how this is built.